All right, people, come on in here. It is 9 o'clock. It's time for the schoolhouse to rock, baby. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes, and you know what this is. This is Teacher Talks. I have a special guest tonight. I can't wait for you to join us. We will be back right now in about 2 and 2. Call your friends, text your friends, forward this right now to somebody who wants to hear this great conversation about leadership. I'll be right back, and get on in here in the comment section. Let me know who you are and where you're coming from. I see you guys in here. Let me know who you are, where you're coming from. I see you guys on Facebook and YouTube. Get in the comments, get in the chat, because we are about to get started. So let's get the music down. I don't want you guys to miss an ounce of what we're going to talk about tonight. This is going to be a very, very good episode of Teacher Talks. I don't want you to miss a minute of it. We're not going to keep you long, but we want to make sure that we keep you strong. All right. Again, my name is Dr. Christopher Holmes. I am your host for this evening, and I've got a great guest for you guys tonight. She's been here before. She's not a virgin to Teacher Talks. She's in education. I would like to say she's been around the block a little bit. She knows a little bit about a little bit, and is going to share a whole lot of with you. So let's get started. Now, again, if you are on YouTube, you know what to do. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and click that subscribe button. While you're there, hit like. You can comment while we're in this thing, because I will see all of your comments and we will provide feedback to some of the comments and answer some of your questions if we have time. And while you're there, go ahead and once you subscribe, click that notification bell. So every time I go live on Thursdays, it's going to let you know where I am and that I've started. If you are on Facebook, thank you guys for watching, but I do want you guys to get on over there to YouTube, because I want you to subscribe. Remember, I am on the road to 1,000. I am not going to stop bugging you until I get there. So if you have not subscribed, go ahead and do so, okay? Now, I know who you are. So if you haven't subscribed, I can look at it. I look at your name, right? I will harass you. I'll do it. I'm not ashamed. I want 1,000 subscribers. Now, if you're on LinkedIn, thank you guys for watching. You too, get over there to YouTube and subscribe. This is going to be a great. Now, let me tell you, class is now in session. I'm officially your host. I'm your teacher for tonight. My name is Dr. Christopher Holmes. Come on in, take a seat. Don't move your meat. People, we are going to have a conversation tonight. We're going to talk about everything from policy to practice. We're going to take it from funny moments to failures to access to assessment. And we're going to take it from discipline to differentiation. Oh, dropping nuggets already, free of charge. Now, let me tell you about my guest tonight. Dr. Shandrina Griffin-Stewartt is a prolific, a profound, and excellent, a game changer in educational leadership. She is resilient, she's bold, and she is one bad sister. So without any further ado, I want to welcome my guest, Dr. Shandrina Griffin-Stewartt. Welcome, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Holmes, for such a great introduction.
Now we see people. I see people on here. They're saying excellent, giving shout outs. They're saying on the way to. Oh, excuse me. Somebody gave me a blessing, Dr. Griffin Stewart. They said on the way to 10,000. I received that. I received the 10,000. I'm not gonna block it. I'm not gonna deny it. You let's see who said that. Look at that. On the way to
Oh, Miss
10K.
Drummer.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
Yes,
love right
she.
there. That is love. That is love. Now we are going to start. Dr. Griffin Stewart, and I always say here at Teacher Talks at 9 o'clock, it is definitely time for adults. The kids should be down. And so you can go ahead and pick up your cup, your mug, whatever it is. Now, I only drink out of my official Teacher Talks mug, but I have some great tea in here. Now, you can drink whatever you want to drink. Why? Because it's your business. Okay. If you want some wine, some whiskey, you want some beer, you want some bourbon, you want some water, whatever it is, go ahead and have yourself a drink. Enjoy yourself because you about to go to bed. Just don't get on the road and drive, people. Cheers. Now, Dr. Griffin Stewart, the topic of tonight's conversation is lover of learning, learner and leading, leader and serving. Broad topics, but all very important for our conversation. So let's just start here. Why did you get into education? Why did you become a teacher?
Um, I became a teacher for a lot of the same reasons so many educators did. I wanted to make a difference, not just in the lives of children, but in the lives of teachers, support staff members, because as leaders, what we do, it really make a difference. And so I wanted to become a teacher first for students because I love to see students learn. I love to see students grow because students to me are like reading a book. Once you start reading a book, those chapters just get better and better. And so that's what happens with students. Once they start, you can see the growth in them every year. And so initially, when I went to college, I wasn't an education major. As a matter of fact, I was a mass communications major. But my grandfather would encourage me to just take a couple of education courses. And so I started taking a couple. I started doing what you call just some school visits. You know how in those early stages in education, you start going to schools and just shadowing teachers and just working to make sure this is what you want to do. And so what I found is I loved it. I love working with students. I love seeing them grow to their fullest potential academically, social, and emotionally. Because when we work with children, it's all about the whole child, not just their academics, but working with who are they? Because your personality, your character, all of that is all in one when you are working with children. So it's exciting to me. It's been exciting to me when I was a teacher. And as a leader, it's even more exciting because teachers turn into my students, and I'm in a new position now. So in this position, what I find is it's still the same work. It's just a different flair to it now.
I like how you said a different flair, a little bit more possess, a little more
Hmm.
pizzazz.
Hmm.
You're able to put that little bit of what we call that special dust on it.
Absolutely.
Now, so mass communication major, switch to education, jump right in. Were you a good student, Dr. Griffin Stewart, when
In
you were
terms
in
of,
your K-12 experience?
well, no, I wasn't. I was one of those students where I wasn't office bound. I didn't get in a lot of trouble discipline wise, but I just lacked focus as a student. And so I did enough, I think, just to get by. As a matter of fact, I had no ambitions on going to college. And so when I graduated from high school, I started working. And so when I started working, and I worked at a chicken factory for a year, and I met some really inspiring people who encouraged me, who would just drop nuggets every day when I would show up for work. Why are you here? Did you graduate from high school? So as I would answer, they were just sowing seeds in me then, saying, hey, young lady, you need to go to college. And so I started really listening to them, and I enrolled at the Fort Valley State University, and I was serious, I was focused. And so what I took for granted in high school, I had a laser focus on my work. And so I'm very passionate about, students learning, because I don't want them to have any missed opportunities. And so I think we as leaders and teachers, because teachers are leaders, we plant that seed. And so while they planted seeds when I started working, I started reflecting on how my teachers also planted seeds, in me. But it was when it was time for me to move and really capitalize on that opportunity that I started moving forward. So, even as we're working with, middle school students and high school students and elementary students, as educators, we're planting those seeds, because when students graduate from high school, you will have those core students who, for whatever reason, don't want to go to college, who don't want to go in the military. Then you will have some that's college bound, and then you'll have some that's military bound. But we teach them academically, but we also plant those seeds of keep focused, think about it. It's never too late to get it right.
Yeah. And I love what you said, because it is really about planting seeds. I think for those that are in education, every day you may not feel like you won, right? You feel like you may have missed some students. You didn't get them to where they want to be. I mean, I hear stories now of teachers, especially younger teachers, they have students that they pour a lot into, and then life happens, right? And when they leave your room, you're out of control in terms of being able to guide them. Now they're at home, they're in their communities, they're with their families, they're with their friends, and sometimes those outside factors have a big influence on them. And so sometimes that motivates how they see themselves, how they see their future, where they see themselves going, and what they see themselves doing. So teachers, I encourage you, continue the good work. Every day is a new fight.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you didn't win yesterday, today is a new opportunity. Tomorrow is an even better opportunity. And the
Absolutely.
future is really, really brighter if you truly believe and stay consistent. Now,
Absolutely.
we have a shout out here from Miss Jackson. She wants to say good evening to everybody. Good evening, Miss Jackson. Thank you for
Good
watching.
evening. Good evening.
Let's stop, because we did not do this, Dr. Griffin-Stewartt. Now, in honor of Black History Month, do you all see this Black beauty melanin right here? We are rocking our African gear tonight. We are giving homage to the ancestors, giving homage to the motherland. Power.
Absolutely.
I am feeling beautifully Black tonight, y'all. I'm feeling royally Black tonight. So I am unashamed of rocking this tonight. Hey, thank you, Doc. We didn't even agree to this. This just happened, y'all. This was just natural intelligence, just two great minds coming together, and boom, what you see on your screen, take a picture, screenshot it. You listen, that's $1,000 picture, y'all, if not more, if not more. Now, we know that things in education have changed over the years, even within the last 10 years. Why have you stayed?
When I first started in education, I had some great mentors. I had, teachers and leaders who mentored me. And because of that, I was really able to have an impact on students. So I've stayed not just for students, but for teachers.
Ooh.
Because when you look around the profession now, those teachers that come in, whether they are traditional or non-traditional, it's not a lot of veteran experience left. And so as I work with leaders, as I work with teachers, I pour into them what was pouring into me. And I'm thankful to God that I started with those experienced people like, Linda Bivens and Deotha Campbell. It was just so many, that's only a few who impact me. Pamela Wachter, when I think about Pat Coxey, it was just those veteran educators who showed me how to be an effective teacher. Yeah. So I think it's very important that, as leaders, as we pass the baton, because that's how I feel when I'm working with teachers and leaders. It's all about passing the baton. And you want to make sure that when you're passing the baton to the next person, that you have helped equip them with the skills and the tools to be effective teachers and leaders. That's what we're charged to do.
Mhm.
And so, we are role models. If you're a veteran educator, you are a role model for students, for teachers, for parents, whether you want to be or not. I think
Mhm.
the higher power, our God, has charged us to not look at education as just a profession, because it's a calling, it's a service. And
Yes.
we are servant leaders, and we serve, beyond ourselves. And so, my goal, my impact, I think when I work at a school, whether it's elementary, middle, or what I'm doing now, my role is to make sure that I'm helping pass that baton, because I want that next leader to one day move that baton up and, not just be a principal, but,
Yeah.
when I look at principals and when I look at leaders, I can see the next level work for them, because that's what it's about. But make sure your next level of work is always about looking back and making sure you're helping,
Mhm.
those young teachers. And when we're helping young teachers, we have to cultivate them,
Yeah.
because sometimes now with young teachers, when they come in, they start having this pressure that I've got to do what my colleagues are doing who've been teaching for 15, 20 years.
Mm.
But I'm very forward, very transparent, and I'll say it out loud to a new teacher. Don't worry about that teacher who's been teaching 5 to 10 years. It's okay if you mess up. It's okay if your lesson plans are not where they need to be,
Oh
because
yeah.
over the years you will grow. You will grow in learning how to teach that standard better than you did the first year. So
Yeah.
we've got to give new educators, whether they're traditional or non-traditional, that it's okay to learn. Because sometimes I think now when teachers come in, we don't give them a pass to say, it's okay that you're learning, you're practicing, you're learning. If you work with a new teacher and you don't compare them to veteran teachers and you just let them grow, because they're like a baby. A new teacher is like an infant baby.
Most
I'm
definitely.
26 years old in education. Some of the new teachers, they are infant babies. They haven't been doing this job for not even a good school calendar year. And so, how do you compare 26 years to 9 months?
Yeah.
So, I think we have to really be cognizant of that as educators who have the experience and don't just want to make them be the way we are, because we grew to this too. Because think about it, Dr. Holmes, when you were that first year teacher, it was different when you were that 10th year teacher.
Oh,
And
most
so, we
definitely.
got to work with those teachers to let them know it's okay to be new. Just like kids when they come to kindergarten. It's okay to be a kindergarten. It's okay to scribble on the paper, because before you leave kindergarten, you'll see those scribbles turn into letters. Then those letters turn into sight words. Those sight words turn into I can write my name using, uppercase and lowercase letters.
Yes. 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 And I'm typing in one of the things you said because I thought this was powerful. You said you stay. In summary, you said I stay because I can see the work ahead, the need to guide future leaders and teachers. And I love it that you said you don't have to have a title. Even if you're a teacher, you're still a leader because your experience certifies you and gives you the ability to help somebody else. And so the future really starts with working with these new teachers. As you said, we cannot throw them out to the wolves. We cannot give them all of the most challenging students. We cannot give them all of the most challenging classes. Give them something suitable to sustain them and support them with guidance, monitoring, and resources. And I
Because
know that
at
for a
the
fact.
homes,
Yes.
it's all about growing a teacher. That's what it's all about. And the only way you grow them is to just be very intentional with helping,
Yeah.
with saying, okay, I want you to observe Mr. or Mrs. So and so. Give them a task. I want you to look for these things, and then let's talk about it. Let's process it. And then I want you to go in your room and try it, because it's practice. It's just like
Exactly.
being on the basketball team. When the coach is out there, he's looking to see, okay, you did your dribble. Now I'm gonna show you how to place your hand on that ball and dribble. And then I want you to continue. I want you to get good at dribbling. Then we're gonna move to something else. And so
Yeah.
that's how we've gotta we've got to treat new teachers. If not, I'm afraid that we won't be able to maintain and retain good teachers if we don't.
Yeah, I love this statement that that drummer put here. She says, a safe space must be created for new teachers, same as we would for students. And I always like to make sure I make the connections because my viewership is pretty wide. And I would say, same as you would for your own children,
Mhm.
a safe space. And one of the things that you said is to be a safe space to be effective and successful and successful. And so, one of the first group of questions we talked about related to the idea of lover of learning, somebody who's passionate about education, somebody who believes in the system of education, someone who believes that an education should be afforded to every single student in the most equitable way possible, despite color, despite sex, despite gender, class, or culture. We're just lovers of education, y'all. We're just teachers at heart, period, point blank. That's the base of it. If you're not a lover of learning, if you did not embrace being a teacher, if you didn't hug up on your kids, if you didn't love them coming in, if you didn't love giving them guidance, sometimes the discipline they needed to get them corrected to move in the right direction, then we already have a problem. Because a teacher who enters into this profession by choice or by force, however that happened, it was forced by me, people. I was forced in this thing. Thank you, Pam Wachter, and thank you, Aaron Weaver, for sustaining me. Pam Wachter pushed me in. She tricked me, y'all. She tricked me. I didn't know what I was signing. I thought I was gonna have a cakewalk. I didn't know these children, and she pushed me in there. But she left. But Aaron Weaver sustained me, and
Mhm.
because she sustained me, I'm still here today. But if you
Mhm.
don't love learning, if you don't love children, and you're thinking about education, if you are in the field of education, let's rethink that because there is something else out there for you. But this field, Dr. Griffin-Stewartt just said it, this lady right here. She said it is a field that's calling you to it. It calls you to the field of education. Now we're going to shift to this idea. We've taught. Now we become the learner and the leader. The learner and the leader. So let's talk about that transition from a teacher to a leader. What did that transition look like for you?
The transition for me was in making sure that I understood first what teachers should be doing. So, not going in to evaluate, that's not what I did when I transitioned to becoming a leader. I looked at it two ways: organizational effectiveness and instructional effectiveness. Instructional effectiveness was first. So, it took me studying those standards, making sure I had a good idea of K-5 standards. I'm using my elementary example now. And then going in, visiting classrooms, just seeing what good instruction looks like in kindergarten, pre-K, all the way to fifth grade. So what I did, I started learning along with students. During our professional learning community time, I was a learner in the session. And, as the leader, you don't have to know everything. But the professional learning time was a great opportunities to learn along with my staff because I was learning what they should be doing, but I'm also learning making sure that we're doing it right. And so if we're doing it right as a leader, it started helping me with making sure that any resources teachers may need for students, it helped me being resourceful. Going to trainings, if we had a new program, going to those trainings, really learning that program and not just learning the surface level, but really learning, what to do. When I work with principals, I love working with principals because I can see, their next level. So when I'm working with them, it's not about me knowing everything. We share in knowing. So I just think as a leader, it's been a combination of learning along with teachers and principals and support staff members and them seeing me as a learner, but not just seeing me as a learner, we're sewing into each other. It's a partnership. Because sometimes with leadership, leaders feel like they have to know everything. You don't have to know everything, but you need to know a lot of things. You can't just depend on everybody to tell you everything, but chart the course, lay the frame for your people, whether it's teachers or support staff, and then let them be an active part of filling in that frame, because you don't have all the answers as a leader. And you will always hear me refer to teachers as boots on the ground. They do the work. We set the conditions as leaders. We set the conditions. And so
Mm,
we set the conditions, we lead, we follow. So it's a combination. And it's just ongoing. You never stop learning. Like any trainings that I can go to learn, I try to make sure that when I come back from a training, what is one thing I'm going to implement and see it through. And so
mm,
I encourage leaders to go to trainings, because you network with other people who may know more than you, and
yes.
then they give you nuggets and they give you ideas. Like right now, as the assistant superintendent, I just didn't have a book to figure out what to do. So as the leader, I had to step out to say, okay, I'm meeting, making these connections. And so, I've solicited two wonderful ladies. I just kind of just said, hey, I need you to work with me. Can we do a Google meeting? So, I had that network with them to share with me. And then I work with some good leaders where, we partner in it. So I don't care what role you play as the leader, it's a partnership with the people that you work with.
Mm,
And it's not about just telling people what to do. You model, you show, they model, they show you. It's a partnership. That's the only way you make it in leadership. You got to be partners with the people that you work with. But you got to also lead. So it's like a balance in that. You can't do it all as the leader, but you can't turn over everything to everybody else either. So the question becomes, what is signature for me as a leader? What is
mm,
signature for me? Because I can't do everything, but I know that when my staff see me, they know I analyze data. We put next steps in place and we monitor those next steps. Then another leader in the building may be signature as something else, but we're learning. But as a leader, you got to have some signature pieces, but you can't be signature. You don't know everything.
You can't be signature in everything.
No, you can't.
Just like clothing brands, certain clothing brands, they are experts in making certain things. Nike makes shoes, and Prada makes dresses, and Coach can make purses,
Correct.
and other people make hats and things like that. But you can't make everything for everybody. So know your lane and stick with that lane. And I love that you said this. And we got some comments, and we're going to kind of come back. But you said leaders must learn alongside teachers. It's a partnership. It's also a balancing act because you don't know everything. And I like the fact that when you said when you go and you learn something new, you come back and try to implement one thing that you learn. You're a part of this learning cycle along with teachers, because if you came in the field as a leader 10 years ago, right now you're outdated. If you're not doing something new and something different, you're outdated. And your teachers hopefully are getting new and relevant PL. And you need to be sitting in on that PL, listening and doing what you hear.
Mhm.
Just hearing it and going back and doing what you've been doing for the last 15, 20 years is no longer good enough, y'all. Listen to us. It's no longer good enough. Leadership has changed. Just because you have a bell schedule and you have an active roster and you have an infinite campus or a clever or whatever you have operationally to make sure students have what they need, as Dr. Griffin-Stewartt said, you have to set up the conditions. That's the lowest level of leadership now. That's the base level of what you're called to do.
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
the instructional leadership part is now the new. How are you guiding, supporting, monitoring, mentoring instruction? Because now the goal is you too have to support, advocate for student achievement. And I can tell you, this woman does this all the time. How do I know? Because I had somebody right here in my amen corner. And her name is Miss
Oh,
Lucy
Miss
Jenkins.
Jenkins.
And
I see. Hey,
as
Miss
Dr. Griffin,
Jenkins.
she's always sharing that this is for the next level of work. That forward thinking, right? She is so passionate about the new educators getting what they need to make them successful and for sustainability, people. Sustainability. I mean, I don't know how else you can do it. This is the work. Now, let's go to the next question. Um, that's in this same bracket of questions. What were some of your fears moving into leadership? Because everybody kind of wants to do it, but they're kind of afraid sometimes because they feel like it could be too much. But what were your fears?
Once I really understood my role as a leader, because it takes a little time to really understand your role because there's so many moving parts. But I think my fear started being doing what's best for children. Because sometimes doing what's best for children can mean that you have to really make some tough decisions about people, about programs that people love. And so, just making those tough decisions about just doing what's best for kids. And so, when you're doing what's best for kids, you're not going to always be that popular like person. And so, can you stand it if you're saying, you know what, everybody wants me to do this, and I know that's not the right thing to do. Will you do the right thing even if you know you might have to stand alone for children? And so I've had those experiences, Dr. Holmes. I've had some tough experiences.
Yeah,
But once I know that I'm doing the right thing for children, I can stand alone. So I think that was a fear initially. But as you continue to be a leader and you're doing the right thing, those fears start lessening. Because if you stay focused on what is the best thing for children, and that can be painful because sometimes you have to make decisions about people, about programs, just about things that will really make people mad. And so,
yeah,
even as a leader, you have feelings. You don't want people to be mad with you. But at the same time, you got to be able to say, you know what? As the leader, I got to do the tough stuff. And if you're scared to do the tough stuff, being a leader is not that's not the job, because as a leader you're gonna cultivate your staff, but you also got to be able to tell them the truth, but tell them
yes.
the truth with kindness.
Hmm.
You tell them the truth to rebuild them. You tell people the truth not to tear them down but to build them up. So, okay, this is where we are, and so what are we going to do to change that? And so those are some fears, because as a leader, sometimes you are the least liked person sometimes, but you got to be okay with, I'm doing the right thing. Be your own cheerleader when you're doing the right thing.
I mean, you just dropped some nuggets now. Wait a minute. I can't even type fast enough. I I mean, I have to go through some of this because this first statement, are you willing to do the right thing for children, for students, even if you have to stand alone? If you don't have tough skin, leadership may not be the position for you. And then you said, even when you have to have tough skin and have those courageous, difficult conversations, do it with kindness, because your goal as a leader should never be to tear people down.
Never.
It should always be to build them up. Why? Because you're in partnership. You don't tear down your partner because you destroy the relationship. So beautiful statements. I love it. I love what you're saying. I love the message that you're sending. Let's look at this last question. Those fears. How did you overcome them? Those tough conversations, being willing to stand alone sometimes, knowing that you may not be the most liked person in the room, the most liked person in the building because of some of the decisions that you had to make. How did you overcome those fears?
I I overcame. I would say being able to tell a compelling story. So when you're working with teachers and leaders, you've got to make sure you overcome because you know your why. So
Hmm.
they helped me overcome because when I went in, I knew my why every day. And so whatever we did had to align with the why. And so being able to tell your why, make a compelling story to teachers and students. And what ended up happening is all of those teachers who had that same why wanted to stay.
Mm.
And so I mean, you got to be out loud with your why, not out loud in a rude way, but out loud in, this is my position as the leader. And, these are the things that I stand for, and I'm not willing to negotiate. And I want you to be on the team, but I'm not negotiating certain things to have you on the team. Because I believe that even if you have a good leader, good leaders and good teachers, they should come want to be the whole package. I'm
Mm.
not going to negotiate because you're a good teacher and then you have bad habits. I'm not negotiating that because
Yeah.
I want you to be the full package for students. And so, and then, how did I overcome them? I started making sure that everybody in the organization that, we had this partnership. We were on the same, we had the same mindset. We were not the same in our
Yeah.
thinking, but we had the same why.
Yeah.
And so those teachers that, had the same why that I had, we built this strong partnership. And so we didn't allow people to come in our organization who didn't have the same why.
Yeah.
And
I
so
love.
when you have the same why, you're about making sure that you're treating students and their parents with kindness and respect, even when they don't extend it to you. But that's
Mm.
still our job is to be the professional
Yeah.
when others are not. So you have to practice and train yourself for that. And we're not perfect because I know I haven't been perfect all the time. But I know as I'm dealing with parents, with students, with teachers, what we model is what they do.
Mm.
So even if you have an encounter with somebody, they change their practices with you when they see how you interact with them, even if they're not doing the right thing. And
So we're going
so
to jump to the next question. I think you've already tapped on this, but I'm going to take what you just said and rephrase it, and then we're going to dive into this question. Parents and children respond differently when they see how you serve them. What does it mean to serve in education?
to me, serving in education is to meet students and parents and teachers and even principals and leaders where they are. You got to take people where they are first,
Hmm.
and you got to make sure you build the confidence of those students you serve, or those teachers you serve. Build their confidence. You got to do that. You got
Mm.
to build that confidence with trust.
Mm.
When people trust you, they will show you, some things that they're insecure about. They'll show you. They'll be very transparent with you. I give you an example. I was a principal at an elementary school for a long time, and so I had been with my parents for so long that they felt comfortable saying, "Hey, Dr. Griffin-Stewartt, can I come to your office for a minute?" Sure, come in. So if they didn't know something that they were reading, or if they needed help filling out something, they got just that comfortable because I made them feel safe. So
Mm.
if you don't know something, we'll make you feel safe because we want to help you. And secondly, we didn't use all that education jargon.
Mm-hmm.
When we're dealing with parents and students, we talk to them in the vernacular that they could understand. So we created those safe spaces for parents. We created safe spaces for students to just be who they are. And we respected who they were. Because you don't have to be like Dr. Griffin-Stewartt for me to extend respect to you. I can respect you, and then with respect, you get respect back when
Mm-hmm.
when parents and students and even teachers and leaders, when they see you respect me and I'm gonna respect you back. So that means a lot when you serve in education. And just being, forthright and upfront about what your instructional expectations are.
Yeah.
If you work with me, it's like I need you teaching. It's all about teaching and learning. I like the other stuff, but I know that when students leave us, if we have instilled in them the love for learning, they can excel and go far in life. But if we're playing and we're not teaching them, then they can't excel. They're stuck in a box. And so it's very important for teachers and leaders, all of us, to come to school prepared. Make sure you are studying your standards. You don't have to be a rocket science. That's why we have PLCs, because we're learning together.
Mm.
Extend that respect to your students and your parents. Know your why when you get there. Use respectful tones. All of that is so important in education, because we want parents to have that comfort zone when they come in. Because you got to think, sometimes parents we serve, they've had a negative experience when they were in school.
Yeah.
So you're trying to dismiss that myth of what they bring when they come in. And the only way you can do that is to make parents and students and the people that you serve feel comfortable. And I think I do a great job. I think that's my strength as a
Mm-hmm.
leader. When I serve others, is I make them have a sense of comfort. It's okay if you fall apart on me. I'm okay with that. Because I'm gonna give you some time to get yourself back together. And then after that, we're gonna get back refocused on what we need to do,
Yeah.
and we're gonna keep it moving.
Yeah. And guess what? Because falling apart is a human experience, right? Everybody has a moment. So if somebody falls apart, don't tear them down or make them feel like showing emotions is unnatural and
Right.
unleadership, or
Mhm.
it's a natural. Everybody has a moment, especially in this field. It is emotionally charged because we're so passionate, or we should be very passionate about what we do. And so I want to go back to what you said. And so in summary, you said in order to serve, you have to serve with trust. Build those trusting relationships. Do what you say you're going to do. You need to serve to make people, students, parents, teachers feel safe. And you also need to serve with respect, because all of those things get results. Because I think those ideas, the way that you're framing service, allows people to be the best version of themselves without judgment.
And to add to that, Dr. Holmes, when you're serving in education as the leader, you got to be able to say you're sorry.
Oh,
If you know that you did not handle a situation the way it was supposed to be handled, you got to be okay with saying I'm sorry. And wherever it happened at, you publicly apologize if something happened in front of people. You got to be able to say, I'm sorry, Mr. or Mrs. So and so, because sorry goes a long way too. And sometimes you might not even get it back, but as the leader, you're gonna always have to be the person who have to be the bigger person sometimes, if that makes sense. Because
mm-hmm.
that's just a part of leadership. You've got to be that bigger person. You've got to be the one that mend relationships back together.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big one. That's a big one. Um, that will be the one that I'm sure many leaders would have to work on. Because this is not something we see a lot of. We see a lot of teachers apologizing for their behaviors, for their mistakes. But leaders, you too, you're not perfect. And so it's about humbling who you are. It's about understanding your humanity, and not about, you know, um, prioritizing your position and your title. You're not perfect. And so you will, not you may, you will make mistakes, and be okay with saying you're sorry when you make those mistakes.
Mhm.
That is also how you serve people. So with this idea of service, and you kind of spoke about this, and I'll give you one idea you said to kind of help guide you. When you prioritize service, one of the things you said to do that in education, one, be prepared. Have your lesson plans. If you're a leader, expect lesson plans to be done. Review those lesson plans. How else do we prioritize this idea of service in education?
Prioritizing is what you said first, making sure we're teaching to the intent and rigor, of course, of the Georgia standards. We're teaching to the intent and rigor of the Georgia standards. So that's the first priority. And then after that, prioritizing how you are creating your assessments, because you gotta begin with the end in mind. What do I expect students to know and be able to do? So you prioritize that way, because that's the meat of what we do with students. So that's a service. We're providing a service to children. And then after that, when you're collaborating with your peers, trying to make sure we understand this standard, we're teaching it the right way. We're using strategies that students can connect with, that they can do, that they can show you that they're mastering the standard. Then we prioritize by having collaborative planning. And that collaborative planning focuses on the work for children. And then in collaborative planning, again, we're all learning. We're all making sure that we can learn and go deeper in whatever we're focusing on. So let's say it's guided reading. That's a service. Everything we provide for children is a service. Whether it's guided reading or the programs we have or direct instruction, we're providing a service to children. So if we're providing a service, we got to make sure it's an academic focus. We're staying focused on how are we going to help these children move the needle. And so we hear a lot about kids now with learning loss. But my superintendent shared a mighty word with me not too long ago that I was like, that is an amazing way to say it. It's not learning loss now, it's incomplete learning. And so because when our children come to school, they have learned. But so now it's just incomplete. They've not lost anything. It's just incomplete. And so I just think we got to keep prioritizing and prioritizing what we need students to do, and then step up to the plate and put the work in and do it.
Yeah, when I think about the idea of learning loss, the key word loss means it's something that you had already had possession of, and you no longer have it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have students who just never obtain that information. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost in a sense that we make direct deposits in our students every month or every day. And since the pandemic, we've come short on our deposits. And so we've got to get back up to what we owe them. That's the only way we're going to have them prepared and ready for moving forward to the next grade or the next course. Not just here in the state of Georgia. For you all that don't know, we are here in Georgia. This is for everyone across, not just the nation, across the world, because this
Absolutely.
pandemic was a global pandemic, and so
Mm-hmm.
students have in some ways suffered, some more than others, depending on their circumstances. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've been exposed. And so I would like to say that our level of service is even greater now, has even been heightened as it relates to how leaders serve not just students, but have to serve their teachers who are experiencing the same emotional downfalls, the same emotional challenges that we're all experiencing as we go through the pandemic. So I'm going to give you the last word, Dr. Griffin-Stewartt, as we get ready to wrap up. We are at roughly almost 50 minutes. Can you believe it? We've been going 50 minutes.
That
Um,
was fast.
that was fast, but when you're
Mm-hmm.
sharing great knowledge and you're really depositing into people's spirits, not just into their
Yeah.
minds, it goes fast. So I want you to just really think about leadership, and I want you to think about how important it is to guide not just instruction, but in guiding people through service. And I just want you to share a last thought with leaders about how important it is that you focus on the humanity of your teachers and how you focus on the humanity of your students, because they're more than numbers, they're more than employees, they're people with lived experiences. So what would you say to people who are in leadership, thinking about going into leadership, about how to lead right now where we are in this educational landscape?
We have a lot that we deal with instructionally and operationally as a leader, but you have to lead with your heart. You have to be passionate about it. You know, Students and staff, they want to know that you care about them. And so when people know that you care, that you really care, or really care about what you're going through, even though we still have to focus on instruction in organization. I care about you personally, I care about you professionally. So that's the first. If you don't have the capacity to love other people, being a leader is not your calling, because you have to love them. You have to have authentic love. And what I mean by that is you have to take your teachers and staff where they are and say, hey, I respect what you bring, and we're going to work on it, and we're going to work you through just growing and blossoming as an educator. And so Dr. Holmes, for me, is very simple. You got to lead with the heart, and you got to show people that you really care about them. Because what's that old saying? I might have it wrong, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's a true statement. And so, when you have a staff member out, check on them. If something is going on with them, give them a kind word. Give them some encouragement. If somebody's been out sick, let them know you're really happy to see that they're back at work. And so, I just think in education as a leader, those leaders who lead with the heart, because you can't lead with an iron fist. You got to
Yeah.
lead with the heart first.
Yeah.
And so when people know you care about them, you can keep them with you forever. You have to run the people away when they know you care about them. Because when you care about people, you can still balance the job and what they do. But if you have a sick husband at home or you have a sick child at home, as the leader, I expect for you to stay and take care of your family first. You
Yeah.
can get back to us. But I need you to know that. Like, I can remember when I was a principal, I had a plethora of teachers who would not take off to go see their children in their honors day celebrations. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what's going on? I said, well, no, we can cover your class because your baby needs to see your face. I don't care if dad is there and grandmama, they want to see you. And so when people know that it's not just about you coming and filling the buckets of everybody at the school, you got to be a bucket filler. You got to fill your own buckets at home too. And so
Yes.
I think that's very important as a leader that, we got to make sure our staffs know that I care about you on the job, but I also care about you from the heart, and I care about what you go through social and emotionally. You can maintain a staff if you lead from the heart.
Yeah.
I don't care if you mess up stuff, they'll help you get it right. And
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience, and you know that.
Yeah.
Because my people know I love them. I'm gonna tell you the truth with kindness, but people will help you grow if they know you care about them.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Because I give you an example of where I am right now, like with Miss Jenkins. If I don't know something and she knows it, man, she's zoom. Dr. Griffin still. I mean, she's happy and excited to share her learning with me, and we learn
Mhm.
together. And I can say that even about Miss Drummer. If Miss Drummer knows something, she know I care about her. So whatever she knows, she wants me to know it. So when people know you care about them and you want them to be the best leader they can be, then they fill your bucket too. So
Yeah.
if you are a leader and you don't care about people and you're going in it for the title, because titles mean nothing. I don't care anything about my title when I go to work. It's all about what am I doing to help other people. I love walking and seeing teachers. They'll tell you I'm in a new place, but I know every teacher by name and I love on them every chance I get.
Yep. I believe it.
Yeah, I
And
love on them every chance I get. If I go to the elementary school, I'm loving on people.
well, now,
If I go to the high school, I'm loving on people.
now, since you dropped Jenkins' name in here, then I think we're gonna have to get her in here at some point and let her share some of this wisdom and knowledge with the audience. So, Jenkins, get ready. You be on the lookout. You're gonna get an email or notification from me so I can get you on here because we need you to drop some of these nuggets as well.
Well,
Doctor,
I've got to
Stewart,
put one plug in about Miss Jenkins.
go
I just
ahead.
need you all to know that this is her second year being a principal. And her first year was during COVID. She is amazing. She is absolutely amazing. I may have been around for 26 years, but let me tell you, it's humbling to work with such a dynamic young leader. And see, that's what I'm talking about right there. She's dynamic. And she loves on her staff. She loves them. She's very intentional about everything she does for her staff and her students. So she is always celebrating, but they celebrate, but they have a balance of we've got to get the work done for our students. And so everything I'm talking about, she's coming to my mind because she's just a great example of leading from your heart, but
Yeah.
still doing the right work and doing the tough work. And so it's just been humbling. And I see Miss Drama said, say that. It's been humbling. It's been very humbling to work with such an awesome young lady. So I am excited to see when she comes on because she has a lot to share as a young leader. She has a wealth of information to share.
Well, we're going to get her on because I definitely want to have her share. I've seen her serve in person, so I know this is just not something that is fictitious. Dr. Griffin-Stewartt, always thank you so much for sharing. This has been amazing. I can't wait to have you back again because we're going to keep talking about leadership. Because in the words of Dr. Aaron Weaver, leadership, leadership, leadership. If we lead, it can
It
be done.
can be done.
So thank you guys so much for watching. Get in the description. I don't have any teacher merch on tonight, but get on over to the website, order your sweatshirts, your hoodies, your long sleeve tees, your tees. Great education wear you can wear to work. It won't be offensive and people will love it. And remember, my goal this year by May is to award 5 $1,000 scholarships to 5 deserving students who need the support to go to college. So support me in that. We're going to get them there. I know we're going to get there, and we're also going to get to that 1,000. But until then, guys, remember, stay blessed. See you soon. Peace, peace. Love you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Holmes, for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.